We are back with a new road running shoe today, but it's not any normal road running shoe. It is the Torin 8 from Altra. Now, it has been some time since we featured any road running shoes from the Zero Drop brand. And in fact, it was 2 years ago when I laced up their VIA Olympus. And unfortunately, that shoe just didn't work for me. You know, I found the midsole overly stiff at the midfoot, and if I'm honest, it was just uncomfortable to run in. So it kind of put me off running in their road shoes. But the Torin 8 is a very different shoe to the VIA Olympus, and I'm a great believer in giving things a second chance. So let's dive into the video, tell you more about the latest version of the Torin from Altra. Then I'm going to be getting them on my feet and testing them out. Yep, it is first impressions time at the channel again. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Lloyd Purvis and this is Run for Adventure. Hope everybody is fit and well out there and training hard. And actually, speaking of training, before we dive into the shoe, it would be awesome to hear what you guys, our wonderful viewers, are currently training for. Now, obviously there's a lot of big marathons on the horizon, including London. So get in the comments below and let us know all about the exciting races and adventures you've got coming up. Now, if you haven't come across the Altra brand before, I'm sure a lot of you have, but if you haven't, they tend to focus on a wide toe box anatomical foot shape design when it comes to their running shoes, and they tend to run off a zero drop platform in the midsole. And by that I mean you get the same stack height at the heel as you do under your forefoot, so there's no heel offset like you get with most running shoes. And if I turn the shoe to the camera, you can see what I mean, a very different looking sort of profile and shape to the shoe. And you can see you've got all this nice wide wiggle room up front in the toe box. As far as the Torin 8s go, they retail here in the UK for £130. Now, I can't believe I'm saying that, but in today's crazy running shoe world, I would say that's a pretty average sort of reasonable price for a daily trainer. As far as weight goes, my pair in a UK 9.5 comes in at 290 grams, so not too bad on the weight front either. And we've got a 30mm stack height on the midsole, so a good helping of soft stuff underfoot, so we should get a comfortable ride today. Construction wise, we've got this nice soft breathable engineered mesh upper design, and we've got a good level of padding in the standard tongue, so no gusseted tongue in the Torin 8, which is a bit of a shame because I do like that feature in my running shoes. We've also got a good level of padding around the ankle collar and in the heel, and you can see we've got this sort of flared design going on in the back end of the shoe like we see in a lot these days in running shoes. Also, another thing I noticed is it's quite shallow in the heel, so it cuts down quite low at the ankle collar there. So going to be interesting to see how that heel fits and feels out on today's run. The midsole utilises Altra's Ego Max foam. Now, the brand claim that this delivers a light and luxurious performance with a bit of extra bounce. And don't you just love the words that these running brands use to describe their products? And to be fair, pushing into that foam, it does feel nice and soft and it feels bouncy, but I'm not sure it feels luxurious, but I guess we'll find that out later. And then flipping them over, you can see that Altra have also worked in their foot pod technology to that outsole. So this basically follows the contours of your bones and tendons in your foot to try and encourage a sort of more natural motion. Now, I know these are a brand new shoe straight out of the box, but if that foot pod technology is supposed to help when it comes to sort of natural foot movement, you'd expect that midsole to be pretty flexible, but actually feels quite stiff at the midfoot and at the forefoot, and this is a similar issue I had with the VIA Olympus when I ran in them. So I've got all my fingers crossed for today's run. And actually, speaking of the run, I'm going to pop off, get changed, I'm going to grab the cameras, and we'll see you guys out on the road to Cornwall. Okay, so that is the first mile ticked off already. Happy to say it is running way better than that slightly stiff, over rigid VIA Olympus, and I would say they're true to size. So I went with a UK 9.5, fitting just right on length, and obviously we got all that lovely wiggle room in the toe box. Okay, so that is another mile done, and not only is the shoe fitting true to size, but feels pretty plush as well. So a nice, comfortable, secure lockdown around my midfoot. I'm always worried when I try these wider shoes because I've got quite a narrow foot shape, but feels super secure at the midfoot and a really good hold in the heel. Okay, that is 3 miles completed, and the next thing isn't really performance related, but the laces in the Torin 8 are crazy long, and I've never understood why some of these running brands make their laces so long. I literally had to triple tie the laces just so they weren't flapping all over the place, and it's a bit of a bugbear for me because it just seems like such a waste of material. But things are going well, 3 miles down, let's crack on. We're going to be turning for home soon. Right, we are heading back to the studio and we've cruised past 4 miles, and the Torin 8 is starting to get my confidence back in an Altra ROAD shoe. This midsole feels so much better than that overly stiff midsole on the VIA Olympus. On that first run in that shoe, I ended up with some pretty severe foot pain and it really put me off running in them, but this midsole felt quite stiff at home, but as soon as I started putting running weight through it, the shoe actually feels nice and flexible, and the run's going really well. Okay, we are getting ever closer to the studio. That is 5 miles completed, and like I mentioned at home, when Altra described the cushioning in that midsole of the Torin 8, they called it light and luxurious. Well, I'm not sure it's luxurious, but it does feel pretty comfortable underfoot, offering a nice level of cushioning. I've upped the pace a couple of times to low 7-minute miling and felt pretty responsive as well. Okay, we've just pushed past 6 miles, in fact nearly 6.5 miles. Run is going well, shoes performing nicely, and the body is feeling good, so the legs feel strong. I feel like I'm getting some of that fitness back, so hopefully going to hit around 40 miles this week, and that'll be my longest week since that nasty fall on the coast path and damaging my hamstring. So everything is heading in the right direction. So the last check-in of the run, and we're just past 7.5 miles, so it's going to be just over 8 miles by the time we get home. I've had perfect evening conditions for this run, it's been awesome, but let's get back to the studio and let's wrap this video up with a quick conclusion. Well, my faith has been restored in Altra road running shoes today, and I had a much better experience this time round, and actually ended up running 8.42 miles in the new Torin 8 by the time I got home. So pretty good first run mileage and nothing to report really, just a nice, comfortable, enjoyable run. And I'd actually go as far to say that it's probably the best fitting, most comfortable Altra upper that I've tested today, and I'm not sure whether it is the case, but feels like they've made their fit slightly narrower. Obviously still got that nice wide toe box, but I just felt like I had a real super secure lockdown around my midfoot. And also before I ran, I was a little bit worried about how low this ankle collar came down, but I shouldn't have worried because that ankle felt super dialed into my foot and I had a really good hold in my heel. Just the right level of padding around that ankle collar and in the heel for me, so the upper felt nice and plush, but it didn't stop me from getting that nice secure lockdown. Also out on the run, I mentioned how crazy long the laces are in the Torin 8. Now, they might be a bit too long, but they did stay locked down. So that nice secure midfoot hold I had at the start of the run stayed for the entire 8.4 miles. And you know, that's always a positive thing in my eyes. So no real complaints about the uppers, fit, feel or performance. You know, felt comfy, nice and breathable, secure around my foot shape, and I had no rubbing or irritation or anything like that. So really was a win-win for me. Also, this Ego Max midsole performed well out there, gave me a nice comfortable ride. Maybe I would like a little bit more bounce or sort of energy return. If I compare it to some of the other road shoes that I've tested out recently on the channel, I would say they did give me a little bit more sort of an energy return feel, and maybe this Ego Max was a bit more sort of old school when it comes to the midsole performance. Obviously, this is a brand new running shoe straight out of the box, and maybe that foam just needs a bit more sort of bedding in and time to sort of soften up and come alive. But it was definitely a little bit firmer than I was expecting. But overall flexibility was good out there on the run, and this was one of the things I was worried about initially, but I really shouldn't have worried because I didn't have any of that sort of nagging foot pain that I got on the first run in the VIA Olympus. And I actually think it felt like this foot pod technology worked into the outsole was really helping when it came to my foot movement. So a mile or so into the run, those concerns I had about midsole stiffness just kind of faded away. The only other thing I would say, and this is very personal, but I really could tell that I was running on the road in a zero drop shoe, because by the end of the run I could feel a bit of tension building up in my lower legs, and I was totally expecting this because it has been some time since I laced up a zero drop running shoe and hit the tarmac. And you know, I never have any issues running zero drop on the trails, much softer ground, a lot less repetitive, and let's be honest, the trails is kind of where our bodies are designed to run, not on that sort of hard, repetitive, unforgiving surface of the road. And there you have it, my first thoughts on the latest Torin 8 from Altra, and it was really good to have a successful run in a road shoe from the brand. And the other thing I will say is, looks like it's been really well manufactured. So we've got some nice soft materials going on, looks like everything's been finished off well. So hopefully they'll hold up to the training miles well, because you know, durability has been an issue in the past with some of the other Altra shoes I've tested on the channel. So you know, fingers crossed, but I guess only time will tell when it comes to the durability of the Torin 8. And on that note, it brings today's video to an end. Really hope you enjoyed it, really hope you found it helpful. Don't forget, if you did, to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Only takes a second to do, but it really is a big help when it comes to the crazy world of the YouTube algorithm. Gotta say a big shout out to Altra for sending us a pair of the Torin 8s to test out, and a big thanks to you guys for watching the video and supporting the channel. We'll be back soon with some more interesting running content, and as always, stay safe and keep on running. You get the same stack height on the heel as you do under the forefoot, so there's no heel offset like you get on most running shoes. So, you know, if I turn them to camera, and then flipping them over, you can see that Altra have worked in something into the outsole. They've worked something in. Oh, their foot pod technology.